About a year ago, we were in Vancouver, Canada, test driving Mazda's Skyactiv prototype cars. A few months later, we drove the new 2012 Mazda 3 with their new Skyactiv fuel-efficient engine, except the rest of the car was very much old Mazda. Fast forward to today, and we're here driving the brand new CX5 crossover, the very first Mazda to use ground-up Skyactiv technologies. We're not just talking about the engine and transmission here, but a new lightweight platform and a fully revised suspension system. And because Mazda is the Zoom Zoom brand, where better to test it out than at their very own racetrack, Laguna Seca. Now, there are those who would argue that you should really never put a crossover or an SUV on the racetrack. And while we do see their point, there are some amazingly capable vehicles. We're, of course, talking about cars like the Porsche Cayenne Turbo or the BMW X6M. Now, Mazda, however, is claiming that this is a car that you can also really take on the racetrack. And here at Laguna Seca, they're proving themselves right. This vehicle is quite amazing at taking the corners. It will, lean in a little bit in the corners, and you feel a little sketchy at first, but it grabs on, and then when you get on the power, it pulls, and it behaves much in the way you would expect, a performance vehicle to behave. Now, while Laguna Seca is very much a high-speed track, and thankfully in this car you don't have to do a whole lot, you can pretty much leave it in third gear most of the time. Still, there are some complex sections, and it's amazing when you get into some of the tighter corners just how chuckable this crossover is. You can really feel that the rear end likes to rotate with it, more so on the all-wheel drive version, but even the front-wheel drive version behaves quite nicely. And as a little bonus here, coming into the corkscrew, you can actually see what's coming up a little bit better anyway than in the conventional car. At launch, the CX5 will be available with just one engine, a 2-liter 4-cylinder Skyactiv engine, the very same one we've driven in the 2012 Mazda 3. But there are some important changes. For starters, it gets a very complex-looking exhaust manifold, and that allows it to run a 13-to-1 compression ratio, the highest of any series production engine. Now, horsepower rating is the same at 155 horsepower, and full torque is 150 foot-pounds, which is up just 2 foot-pounds. But the real difference is in how it makes that torque, and it's much better between 2,500 and 4,000 RPM, delivering a driving experience that's much better suited to a crossover. Okay, so it is a lot of fun to drive on a racetrack, and that is important for determining the car's performance potential, but not a lot of people are going to push the limits of their Mazda CX5. We do have to say that some of the characteristics are the same on the street. For instance, when you're really hammering on it, it's a lot of fun. However, we did find that just the way it's laid out and with the gasoline engine, it just doesn't make a lot of power really far down. And if you're driving it moderately, it's quite a slouch off the line, even if it is a lot of fun when you wind it up. For a compact crossover, the driving experience is calm and quiet out on the highway, although I will admit that when you get on some rougher roads, the car will beat you up a little bit. The good news is that the handling characteristics don't change no matter how good or poor the road is. We've been driving this on Carmel Valley Road this afternoon, along with the very smooth Laguna Seca racetrack today, and it's similar in most circumstances. The turn-in is great, it grips really well, and we've just had a lot of fun with this vehicle today. Mazda boasts that the CX5 is the most fuel-efficient crossover on the highway, and it gets 33 miles per gallon for the manual transmission model with the front-wheel drive. The automatic transmission gets 32 miles per gallon highway, so just one tick off, which isn't bad, and both cars get 26 miles per gallon in the city. The interior of the CX5 is very familiar, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. On the bad side, there's nothing really here to wow you, although there are some nice new design elements, as well as this TomTom navigation system, which is ridiculously easy to use. Of course, the good side is that, well, Mazda's always had great interiors, so this is, again, a solid piece. If you're not in the driver's seat of the CX5, there's actually a lot of space in the second row. You can get into and out of it quite easily, and even at 6'1", I can sit right behind myself. Now, if you move all the way to the cargo area, you've got an expansive 34 cubic feet of space, and you can drop that rear as well, and it expands to well over 60 cubic feet. It's a great packaging, and it really doesn't look that big from outside the car. So Mazda has delivered as promised with the CX5's sporty driving dynamics. But to be honest here, we expected no less. Now, considering the focus on the driving performance and the fact that Mazda says they're really targeting this car at couples in their sort of pre-family stages, perhaps the biggest surprise is what a great family crossover it is, especially when you consider it starts at just $20,695. Now add about $1,500 for the automatic transmission, and if you want an all-wheel drive model like this, you're going to pay about $23,000, just a little bit over that. So why pour all that engineering into a soft rotor like this? Well, one Mazda rep described it to us precisely. He said Mazda believes that not everyone who takes their kids to soccer practice also hates driving.